Good morning, everybody. Welcome again to another edition of the Wealth Equation podcast. Now, here we are today with a lady called Jess Morgan. Jess, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So, Jess is the CEO and founder of a fascinating business, a PR, marketing content generating business called Carnsight Communication. Now, Jess has been the CEO and founder since 2016. From our conversation before, Jess, we're more than 20 years, although we're not going to say how many, in marketing communications, high level, Saatchi, Ogilvy, some really interesting agencies there for you to tell us all about later. I think it's fair to say, Jess, that Carnsight delivers a full array of marketing communication services, PR, social media, content generation. And I love this little sentence. It's very simple, but it works, doesn't it? Took from the website. We get companies and individuals known. So I'm keen to know more about this team of four of yours on the Wealth Equation podcast, Jess. So tell us all about it.
Oh, thank you, Ellis. Yeah, it's a great introduction. Well done. So we have been going since 2016, as you said. Started off me, but I always knew I wanted to build out a team. So there's a small team of us. We're based between Bath and Bristol.
Okay.
And but working with clients locally and also nationally. And we're really focused on practical, powerful PR. That's our main, and communications, as you say. That's our main focus. So really delivering results from a PR perspective and social media and content, and really effective communication. So it's not smoke and mirrors. It's not paying lip service. It's actually delivering results. And I know you were saying about your marketing career in the past. Those results are just so important, aren't they? So that's what we're really focused on.
As I'm talking to you, I'm listening to you. I'm remembering the fantastic agencies that I worked with in my corporate career back in the 90s and the 2000s. I won't mention names because they might even be watching. I don't know.
They might be.
But they were brilliant. They had such energy, and I think of small business that has not given itself the opportunity to engage a team like yours is missing an opportunity to learn a great deal, benefit from that energy. Energy, but just know-how. It's DIY marketing. Does it work? Question mark. Well, we'll talk about that as we go on. But tell us a little bit about your ideal client. What do they look like, Jess?
So I think we really thrive when we're working with founder-led businesses.
Okay.
I think that's quite a sweet spot. It's not exclusive. We work with some amazing larger firms. We work with Sulis Hospital, for example, which is brilliant. That is an independent hospital owned by the NHS in Bath. So it's fascinating talking about your wealth equation and your kind of wealth models. It's a fascinating model whereby profit generated gets put back into the NHS. So, we work with a bigger organization in them. However, I think the commonality between them and founder-led businesses is the small teams that we work with. So they usually tend to be one or two marketing people. Sometimes there's no marketing person we're working with. Sometimes it's the founder or the managing director. And we're just there to really provide, as you say, the knowledge, the expertise, but also the understanding of these businesses. Having worked in communications for a little while, as you said, and also running a small business myself, I do understand how it is, not always front of mind, but you do need to market, as you say. You do need to do PR, or you do need to do social media.
Absolutely.
You need to have someone dedicated to that, I think.
Yes.
But also who understands the context and how hard it is in a small business to wear so many hats.
Yeah.
So I think certainly people who haven't done much PR or social media, or, with sometimes the first experience they've had of it, or sometimes sadly they've been burnt in the past.
Yeah.
And they really need something that works. That's
Exactly.
where we tend to step in and, try and help them.
That's the key phrase, isn't it? Something that works, because it's a subject matter that is, I mean, we talk about there being two critical pillars to every successful business, and one is the people within it, and the other being marketing. And yes, there are many more pillars within an organization, but for me, they're the two primary ones. If you don't have the right people and you don't have the right marketing, it's probably going to be a bunch of spreadsheets and some stuff, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But so many people misunderstand marketing, don't they?
Yeah.
Classically, our lovely accountants refer to it in our P&L as advertising, and it's just a little bit more than that, isn't it?
It's a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fundamental. It's really linked to business performance and business
Absolutely.
structure. And in
Yeah.
fact, sometimes I'm writing a blog at the moment. So we blog every single week because that's obviously important for our SEO, but also really important for us to kind of put down, I guess, our tips and advice and talk about current affairs.
Yeah.
And one of the blogs I'm writing at the moment is someone said when they came to speak to us about a new product they were launching, they said it feels like being on Dragon's Den, being in a room with you. So I thought, oh, that's really interesting. But one of the fundamentals when we're starting to talk about how to communicate a product or a business or a service is really understanding the model of that business or product or service,
Yeah.
understanding how
How
they
can you,
operate, how they make
right.
money, what the market is. So we
Yeah.
do ask a lot of questions, and it feels, and things like, have you done market research? Do you know there's a need? And those kind of
Absolutely
things.
perfect.
And they feel to me, I guess, because I've always worked in this field, they feel very kind of intuitive, natural questions that
Yeah.
you'd ask
Yeah.
yourself. But actually, quite a few people we talk to don't have those numbers to hand, or aren't necessarily clear on that. And
Well,
I
I
think it's
mean,
really hard to do any kind of marketing, and particularly PR, without having that grounding and understanding that, because we're going to be questioned from a PR perspective. We're going to be questioned by a journalist about it.
let's lob a massive cliche hand grenade into our chat, shall we? I mean, apparently Henry Ford said, and a million business coaches, if they listen to this, will go, "Oh God, he's going to say the Henry Ford that I am." Apparently Henry Ford said, "Marketing's great, but only 50% of it works." The
Yeah.
challenge is which 50%? We've got no idea. And I think that's why it always underwhelms me. A thousand years in business now, clocking up, literally, it feels like it anyway. Uh, Especially today, coming off the back of this blue thing. Um,
Oh,
so, what was I going to say? I've lost my thread. Yes, it underwhelms me how I talk to a business owner. They can be quite a sophisticated business owner, a
mm,
business, several million, or it could be a £500,000 garage in Bristol. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, eh, eh, the times that I have actually come across somebody that understands what a targeted marketing plan actually is, you can count on less than one hand.
Mm,
People think that a marketing plan is an activity plan, which is a bunch of strategies and some money you're going to invest planned
yeah.
over time. That's not a marketing plan, right? What
No.
you're saying is a marketing plan, which is the research, the knowledge, the market overview, the depth of thinking. How on
Yeah.
earth can people build a website or do any social or whatever marketing without that? Yeah, so how do you do that then, Jess? Do you have a template would you take your new client through, or is it a online thing, software, or how do you do it?
Well, I think it's first, it's really important to say that we can work alongside an overall marketing resource. So we can work alongside a marketing director or external marketing director, and actually that works really
Cool,
well. So the bit that
cool.
we do is the PR, the social media, the content. So that's part
Good.
of the plan. And like you said, you need an overarching strategy.
Yeah.
Um, what we do, so that works really well. What we focus on, and say we didn't have that alongside, or even if we did, we focus very much on our area. And what we always start off with clients is what we call a messaging session. And
Okay.
that is the bit where we interrogate. So obviously we can sit down
Yeah.
and have conversations, and they can give us
Love it.
numbers, they can hand us strategies or plans or documents. But really, what we find really works is getting in a room over a structured session. It usually takes 2 to 3 hours,
Yeah.
and understanding everything about that business. All asking all the difficult questions, getting a real
Fantastic.
handle for the business,
And
getting
look,
nitty gritty, making
yeah.
sure we understand it and we understand how it operates, how it runs, the people, everything behind it, as you were saying. And we actually have three lenses in this session.
Okay.
One is everything around the business. So
Yeah.
that this is kind of the day to day, etc. One
Okay.
is external,
Okay.
so everything outside, so the marketplace,
Yeah.
competitors, what's
Yeah.
happening in the landscape, etc.
I've got you.
And the third one is hindsight. So
Ah,
that's everything that's happened in the past and what they want to look at again or what they'd like to change from the past. And we
fascinating.
find that gives us such a great overview of what's happening in the business at the moment, what's happening around the business, and what has happened in the past. And that is how we start with every client, and that enables us to then go away and write up our strategy. But it really needs that deep understanding. It's not just a couple of questions. It's not just a quick discovery call over the phone. It's actually getting in, the nitty gritty. And also the other thing to say is having all the stakeholders in the room,
Yeah.
because sometimes one person will have a slightly different idea of the direction of travel than other people, or they might talk a bit differently about the heritage of what they're talking about to other people. So actually having the key people in the room to do that is a really valuable exercise. And we're told time and again, actually, that was a brilliant session. It's been ages since we sat down and talk and got everything out on the table and talked about
Ages,
us as a business. And
ages slash never, I would have thought, for a lot of people, which is fantastic exercise. So
yeah,
everybody watching needs to be doing this. I mean, if you're in business, you're in marketing, you're in sales, so you've got to understand your product, your brand, your story. What makes you different? Cynics,
exactly.
didn't they? What's your why? You know?
Exactly. It's really fundamental, but people find it very hard. And I can understand why, because
Sure.
there's so much other stuff going on. People
Well, they're
find it
technicians,
very
aren't
hard to kind of say in a nutshell, in a couple of lines,
they?
what
That's
the
right.
business does and what makes it different. And that's what we help them condense it down to, because we have to do that. We have to, when we're selling in the business or writing content about it, we need to be able to condense that into a couple of lines. Why
Absolutely.
do people need to take note? So we
Absolutely.
find starting with the macro, I guess, is a really good way to kind of then condense it down and go, oh, well, that's what makes you different. And I think the other thing is sometimes people start with a niche, don't they? They start saying, well, we're the only one to do this. And
Mm.
then the market around, a bit like, the example you were saying earlier of Smeg,
Yeah,
they're the kind of only one, they're the key people doing this. And then there are copycat brands, aren't there? And other,
100%.
the market changes. And so you need to keep reevaluating. Is that true? What was true a couple of years ago? Is that still true?
Yeah.
Or do you need to refine that and talk about your point of difference? Because everyone does have a point of difference. It's just about, capturing that essence of
Accessing
it.
it. Yeah, yeah. Really great. I have to say that, like I said to you earlier on, I could probably spend the next few hours talking to you about this stuff because it's just a pleasure. And it's so important to business. The central heartbeat of any business is its marketing department. So just you're taking me back to a conversation with a guy that still owns a very successful agency in Oxfordshire. I'm not going to mention his name because, again, I might get into hot. I'll be probably getting a message from him later. But he sat in a coaching session with me. I don't know, not quite 10 years ago, but certainly a long time ago. And I said to him, "So show me your P&L and show me how much you're investing in your own marketing." He was a marketing agency with several people in it. It was £1 million an agency. Um, and it was something like the investment that he was making in the previous year in marketing himself was something like £36.58 pence. And we literally sat there and he fell on the floor, put his head in his hand and said, "Oh my God." He said, "I've just realized I am not doing what I teach." And it's interesting that that's a true story, by the way.
Wow.
The number's not quite right, but it was certainly a small
Yeah.
amount. So without divulging your own situation, Jess, tell us a little bit about, because your website is um, you can see the thinking behind it and the identity behind it and the way that you've laid it out
Good.
very, very carefully. It's a great
Yeah.
website. So tell us about how you go about marketing yourself.
Yeah, of course. And that's such a good question. And honestly, when I started, it was me, and I had to build a team around me. So, it was very difficult when it was just me. I guess I was the brand. but I quite quickly realized I didn't want to be the brand. What you were saying earlier about being at the center of your business and actually working your way out of your business. I know that to grow and scale and to make it a success, I can't be at the center of everything.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a key thing to say. So I always knew when I could afford to, I'd invest in a really good website, and I'd invest in our own social media, and we'd invest in our own PR. And that's what we do now. So we actually have my account manager is actually dedicated to Carnsight as a client. So she treats it as a client and I treat it as a client. So I think something like 20% of her time is dedicated to promoting us as a business.
Wonderful. Okay.
And that's absolutely key, because we can't be talking about how good we are at PR and social media without demonstrating that. And I like to share socials, for example, with clients, and I know that they're good socials, and I can prove that we've grown, and I can show we know what makes, we know what works from an organic point of view, because we're doing it for ourselves.
Right.
But that just means that we need to always allow that 20%. So I guess that's 20% of her salary, I guess, goes directly towards that. I mentioned when we were chatting beforehand our ebook as well.
Yeah.
So that's been something that we've wanted to do. So we spent some time and money designing and writing an ebook that people can buy, obviously, which is fantastic. So that was a kind of dedicated. And then the website that you mentioned, again, I think it's really important to invest in that. And so we invested in it from a thought point of view, from a copy point of view. And I actually used an external person to help with that, because I think sometimes that outside in perspective,
yeah, absolutely,
is really helpful. So, we've rewritten certain bits, but having a really trusted copywriter to just look at it and suggest changes. And we invested, more than I thought we would on the website, but I wanted to future-proof it. And as you say, I wanted to make sure it was a really quality product. And actually, what's great is it does work. So it functions from an SEO point of view, and people find us via the website. So it becomes our shop front as well. So I totally agree with you. You do need to walk the walk. And I don't think you want to turn around and go, oh God, we just haven't done that. That's something that runs through what we do. Because we need to be able to do that. So we always invest time mostly, but some money in promoting ourselves as well.
And Jess, your internet signal's a little bit stop-start here, but it seems to have settled again.
Oh,
yeah, it's also a total misnomer that marketing is a cost, right? Because when it's done correctly, it's a profit generator. So it's not that you've sunk a load of money into a black hole. It's invested in your future, and again, that sadly is a mindset issue that many small business owners that are technicians, they are plumbers, heating engineers, they are garage owners, they are whatever. They're the salt of the earth. They're the bedrock of our economy, but they don't understand necessarily marketing.
Yeah,
has to be done well, and when it's done well, it's a way to turn £1 into £2, to use another cliche, right?
yeah,
So
no, you're right.
so hold on one second. Excuse me. Apologies, everybody. I am a little bit sick at the moment, but I'm fighting my way through it. So let's talk about the wealth equation. The first aspect of the wealth equation is money, is finance. It's the I guess it's the obvious one out of the three, isn't it? It's money, time, and health. Most people get into small business because they want to make money. And we're all told that profit first, and the two golden rules of business: never lose money, and never lose money is the second one. And it's true, of course.
Yeah.
What's your take on financial wealth, Jess? Is it a big driver for you? How do you process the consideration of what financial wealth means?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I've always been brought up to think, so my dad did PPE, and he's always been into his economics, and so he's always been very keen to. I'm one of three girls, and he's always been very keen to kind of educate us financially. He's always said to us, choose what to spend your money on. As long as you make your choice, then you can then spend your money on that. So I've always been brought up to think about choices. I've never been driven just by money at all costs, because I think that wasn't the way I was brought up. But also, I've worked in businesses where it's maximizing profit, whatever the cost.
Okay.
And, and by cost, I don't mean financial cost. I mean cost to everything, really. Cost to
Yeah, yeah.
people's lives, cost to people's health, like you said, cost to
Absolutely.
people's well-being,
Yeah.
cost to their future lives and their future work outside the company. So I think advertising can be quite a cutthroat business, and that's where I started.
Yeah.
And as soon as I figured out, actually, when we were working really late nights, it was great fun, wasn't it? It was pizza and beer and long nights and big pitches and weekend work. But
Absolutely.
when
Addictive,
I
I would
when
say.
I yeah, it probably brings back memories.
Yeah,
When I
yeah.
realized that that was all about actually probably just making someone in a far off land richer. And that's why I was in the weekend. I wasn't in the weekend just in the pursuit of excellence and great work. I was probably there because actually they were squeezing margins. I thought, oh, okay, this is interesting. Um, but I also thought this isn't necessarily the way I want to run my own business.
Okay.
I don't think that ultimately, getting richer and richer and richer, I don't think ultimately that's going to be satisfying for me. I think obviously making money and generating your own money is a real motivation, absolutely. But it's a motivation in as much as it allows me to do what I want to do and create choices for
Right.
myself and my family. So I've always seen money as one driver, but not the only driver.
Interesting.
And and so I've made business decisions in the last 9 years, not just purely based on money and maximizing profitability, but also based on creating a nice environment in which to work. And one motivation I've really found is kind of developing people. So I've worked with, my model has been quite a lot of bringing on people at quite a junior stage and kind of, I guess, mentoring them and helping them to get better very quickly and to be fantastic people in their own right and fantastic employees. And that for me is a real motivation. So it needs to run alongside the money, because part of running a good business is being able to give people the right amount of money, and give
Absolutely.
myself the right amount of money, and and create that and create that environment. But it hasn't been the sole motivation, because I don't think it would have made me a business that I would have been proud of.
Do you have a value attached to money in the business? Is that, I mean, you mentioned developing people, which is talking to values, and talking to culture, which is a great subject in its own right. But I mean, for example, what I'm driving at is the first thing that you write in your business plan for 2026 going to be turnover? Or is it going to be profit? Or is it going to be something else? I wonder, how does it fit into the CEO's mindset that I'm speaking?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. It will be, I think the first line will be turnover,
Yeah.
because I've got a pretty good idea about profitability based on turnover in my model.
Okay.
So turnover will be there, but I think the second bit will be about profitability, because we I think there's a kind of business curve, and you know a lot more about this than me, I'm sure, but there's a curve, isn't there, of your business in terms of
Hmm.
how profitable it is. And right at the start, when it's just you, it's actually really profitable, isn't it? And then as you
Absolutely.
grow and get clients in, it becomes less so, because you start employing people and you start putting processes and you get a bigger office and all those kind of things.
Absolutely.
I've definitely noticed that over the last year or 18 months that our profitability has gone down.
Yeah.
Profitability is really, really important. So, I
Yeah.
wouldn't ever say it's not. And it's something I track and I look at very closely. And so a goal for us in the next, in this current financial year, is to increase profitability. Absolutely.
Super.
So that's really, really important. And I think that whole, sanity versus vanity thing, turnover
Yeah.
versus
Yeah. Profit.
profitability. I've been guilty of working with businesses who are earning, who are their turnover is kind of 2, 3, 4 times what we are,
Mm.
and thinking, oh wow, how are they turning that over? And that's amazing. But actually, our model is quite straightforward. We don't need any big equipment.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So for us, the profitability can,
Intellectual. Yeah.
yeah, it can look quite healthy, even though the turnover might not be, the yeah, over 1 million, basically. We're under 1 million. But yeah,
Not for
the
much longer.
profitability is important. What's that? Sorry?
Not for much longer, Jess.
Exactly. But
So, question for you then.
yeah,
Vision,
yeah,
scale. What you're a business person with many years ahead of it if she wants it, right?
yeah.
So what are you doing with this thing? Where are you going? Where are you taking it?
That's something that I don't know. If someone said 10-year plan, I think I could give you the 3-year plan and, probably the 5-year plan. If someone said 10, 20-year plan, I think I struggle to look for that far ahead. And I think I struggle for a number of reasons.
Right.
So I look at it in stages, I guess. So I've always said we'll try and grow by a person a year. Probably that's realistic. I don't really want to be unwieldy as a
Practical way
team.
to look at it. Yeah.
I want that quality there. I
Okay.
think that is so important. And I think there have been opportunities to grow the team quite a lot in a short space of time because, big clients have come along and I've always weighed up, is that right for me? Is it right for us?
Mm.
Will it allow us to provide the right quality? Because I think we really need to, in a small business, there's nowhere to hide, is there?
No, there isn't. And it is, you raise a good point there. Again, everybody tuned in will perhaps be aware of what I'm going to say next, that balance between what we feel versus what we're doing to click our handbrake on ourselves and our
Yeah.
business. It's where is that right? Am I actually making good decisions because this is my instinctive feel, or am I simply holding this darn thing back? And
Yeah.
that both can be right, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's turn our attention to time now. You mentioned family and life outside business. Please, obviously, don't feel under any pressure to divulge anything. But the point is, how do you, as the CEO of a busy business, small business, how do you balance time? Tell us about when time was poor and where are you now?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's something I've always got in my mind. So the context of my business is I've got 2 children and a husband and a dog. So I do have,
Lovely,
and
perfect.
then obviously my family outside that, my dad, my 2 sisters. Um, so I think that the context of my business, as with a few, I guess, female founded businesses, is I started on maternity leave. So I actually,
Okay.
so I actually started. We were moving down to the southwest for work. We moved from London to the southwest. I'm from Cornwall originally, so we were kind of
Yeah,
moving back towards that area. And excuse me, and
now you're catching
I
it.
was on I was on my maternity leave with my second child, and I got given the opportunity to work with a client on that maternity leave. So, while I was moving, settling in down here, I also had a client who I started to do PR for. And that was how it started. So it always started with me time blocking because I was doing childcare at the same time. I was time blocking during naps, during nursery, during preschool, and that has been quite a key philosophy for us as we've built, understanding that there are blocks of time where you get things done and
Right.
you're incredibly productive. And then, there's also downtime outside of it. And I've kept that philosophy. I'm not someone who will sit and work all evening. I won't sit and work all weekends. I very much compartmentalize.
Okay.
Sometimes I blend.
So
Um,
just
Go
can I
on.
step in there? What I'm interested in is the subject of time blocking because there's a fallacy out there, isn't there, which is around time management. Actually, what you're describing is the correct management, and that is self-management. It's
Yes.
planning the use of the time. When am I going to use this time, and how am I going to use it? That's what's missing in many business people. So
Yeah.
fascinating. Do you use templates? Do you use software? Do you use bits of paper? How do you do it? And do your whole team do it?
We're encouraged to. I think a key thing I probably haven't mentioned is that we work a 4-day week.
Ah,
So we work a Monday to Thursday, a 4-day working week. Um, Realistically, I work on the Friday as well. So, I do use the Friday for catching up with things, addressing things I haven't addressed.
okay.
But I don't tend to take meetings on Fridays. So I tend to do meetings Mondays to Thursdays, and Friday is my kind of catching up. But for the rest of my team, they're actually off on Fridays.
So,
So I think that's already some kind of time block, isn't it? It's already saying we need to get this done between the hours of, this time on Monday and this time on Thursday. So I think the whole model is about being really productive and efficient.
absolutely.
Um, we all work in different ways as a team, so we do have Trello boards, for example.
Good. That's what I was after. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that really works for a couple of my team members. Personally, I block out time in the calendar. So I kind of go, right, that's an hour.
Yeah.
It's not, or realistically half an hour. I do check emails all the time, but I have got that kind of brain that can actually switch between tasks quite easily. But
Okay.
some of my colleagues don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're much more focused, and that's fine as well. As long as we're all doing the work,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Well,
all work in different ways.
if you found your optimal method, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it's the people that haven't done that that are a slave to their subconscious. Interesting. So you mentioned 4 day week there. So in the context of time wealth,
Yeah.
are you guys as effective? I love that word, by the way. You mentioned efficiency a minute ago, and efficiency matters, but effectiveness is also critical.
Yeah.
Are you guys effectively getting a 5 day week done in 4? Do you think is that the plan?
So certainly not time wise, because I don't think that's a true 4 day week. But in terms of
Uh-huh.
effectiveness, as you said, and productivity, I
Yeah.
know because I've worked in 5 day working weeks, I know that Friday afternoons are generally a bit of a write-off.
Right.
I
Yeah.
say I know that, I know that from my own experience, but I know that I was maybe productive on a Friday morning, very rarely on a Friday afternoon. And the advertising culture is about long lunches, isn't it? And and then staying late in the office. And I personally know I'm not a night owl. I'm an early bird. I'm a lark. So we actually start most days at 8:30, and just that bit between 8:30 and 9. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you can get so much done in that first half an
Yeah.
hour of the day.
Good for you.
So I think we get the amount of work done and the results done in those 4 days the same as if we've been working 5 days, but we don't
That's
squeeze the hours. But there isn't. I think it's such a motivation having a Friday off,
mm,
because you're not sitting there scrolling, are you? You're not sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'll do that on Friday."
yeah.
You're not scrolling through your shopping or doing that kind of thing. You're actually getting stuff done, so you can actually park it and have a nice Friday, or catch up with washing on Friday, or. So
You
I
plan
I
Friday.
certainly I certainly think from knowing what we did or what I did and we managed as teams on 5 days, and seeing what we managed on 4 days, the work is the same. So, that's what I find.
I like the idea that you can plan your Friday, that you can make a long weekend plan. That's brilliant. Again, we talk often around the houses of culture and vision on the show, and it's lovely to hear that a business is thinking in that way. I think that's fantastic. So tell us about your thoughts on the balance of health wealth. How do you make sure that yourself and your team, amidst this busy, intense 4 day week, are staying healthy?
Well, I think firstly we try and talk. So I just encourage conversation and regular check-ins. It's such a simple thing, isn't it, to go for a coffee with someone, or to go. We often walk and talk as well, just to go for a catch up, 15 minutes, just walking
That's
around,
great.
going, are you okay? Kind of, is everything all right? Um, but it just wasn't done really when I was working in businesses. I don't remember everyone ever really asking, how are you? And actually wanting to hear the answer,
Yeah, a
you
million
know?
percent. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
just wasn't a part of the culture. I think it probably is more now, but I just thought, why wouldn't I want to know that they're okay? Why wouldn't I want to know if there's anything I can support with or anything I can help with? And actually, if someone is struggling, is it the right thing for them to be in the office doing that? So I think the
Great
kind of
inspiration.
the conversation and the openness, and I've got a small team. It's not like I'm in charge of 50 people and I can do that individually, but that's also one of the reasons I don't want a kind of sprawling team. I want to be able to know that everyone's okay. And
Good.
so I think that kind of conversation, that showing that actually if they say I'm not okay, that it's all right and they're not about to get moved out of the business. I think that is really important. We do little things like I pay for a subscription every month for everyone, just a small subscription, and it could be a music subscription, but it could also be the Headspace subscription,
Okay,
or
perfect. Yeah.
something like that, because I can't
They choose. Yeah.
afford.
They choose. They choose.
Exactly. They choose a
Yeah.
kind of well-being subscription.
Excellent.
I can't say, private medical insurance and dental insurance for everyone on the team. We're not there, but I can say something that maybe will make their lives a little bit easier.
But would there be goals? Would there be goals, objectives for the business to achieve, milestones maybe, and
Yeah, what
budgets for the future?
you mean well-being objectives,
Yeah,
or do
yeah,
you mean
health and healthcare and insurances and such like. Do you
it's
see?
definitely something I've got in my mind,
That's good.
because
Yeah.
I would like to do that. But I also think if you create a culture where people are open, willing to talk, where they can say, I'm struggling,
Yeah.
and not be punished, and actually you can step in and try and help them and support them and guide them. But they understand work is work and work is really important. But actually, if they are struggling, there's things you can do. And if you're also saying to them every single Friday you can be off, I do think naturally you're creating an environment in which hopefully there aren't any major health obstacles. And that's been my experience over the last 9 years. And I'm always open to changing or evolving and getting their feedback. But so far that's been, that's been something that I think has worked well in our business.
Jess, that's great. You sound like a business leader that has a clear understanding of her identity and the fact that the business can only ever be a reflection of you, So yeah,
Yes.
so it's the more that you're evolving, you're thinking, the more
Yeah.
the business will benefit from that and reflect. So that's a fabulous thing. So, well, what an interesting discussion. I mean, we've even managed to avoid AI. I mean, and deliberately so, because your business model, I mean, we could have spent the entire 35 minutes talking about
Oh
AI.
my goodness. Yeah, we talk about it a lot. Yeah,
Come
AI
on
and
another
PR,
time.
honestly. Wow.
Come on another time, and let's talk about AI
Yes.
another
Okay.
time. But I've really enjoyed getting a grip and a feel for Jess Morgan and Carnsight Communications feel for um, the balance across financial wealth, um, time wealth, and also health wealth. And I would say congratulations. It sounds like a great place to be.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining in, Jess. I'm sure everybody watching and listening took a lot out of that. If you're not looking at Jess's website already, get on it. Is it carnsight.com? Oh, looks like we might have lost Jess. It
Yes.
is
Oh,
carnsight.com, yeah? I'll
I
just,
froze. Can you hear
can,
me?
yeah. What your website, Jess, can you just confirm your website details?
Yes, it's www. I mean, I say that because I'm obviously Gen X. Carnsight.com, and that's CARNSIGHT.com.
All right, perfect. Well, listen, we're going to get you back and we will talk about the dreaded AI subject. But today it's been all about human beings. Wonderful celebration of it as well. Have a great day, Jess. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you, Ellis. Thank you.